So we are in the midst of a San Pedro ceremony right now. I, Jessica Ann, am with Alan and Alfredo.
What's up, everyone? We are in the Botanical Gardens in San Francisco's Golden Gate Park. We're in the Great Meadow right now, right in the center.
Right in the center. Right in the heart of it all.
I think we're right in the heart of this San Pedro journey as well.
Yeah, we thought it'd be fun to kind of, I don't know, why do I feel like it's like a riffing, like freestyle, like jazz solo thing, you know, where it's like we just start talking about stuff and then just go from there.
Let's do that. Yeah, it feels hella good. Just shout out to Jess and Steve.
In San Pedro.
In San Pedro, yeah.
Shut up, San Pedro.
Shout out.
Muchas gracias, San Pedro. We love you.
Can we start where I wanted to start earlier?
Please.
It can be tough to sit with the feeling of duality and light and dark.
How's it tough?
Well, after one has helped identify it in themselves and done as objective of a job at that as possible, then one has to be okay with the darkness they see in the world. And then as someone that's aiming to bring forth the light, where does one start? Because we were discussing earlier, one can start with assisting some people on the streets, certain role for certain people. Mm. One can assist from some even higher sort of trajectory guiding principles or value systems. What do you guys think?
So what I'm feeling is that there's honor in any cause that people take, you know, that there is equal value, that there is not one that's more important than the other, for it's all serving. So by serving one, you serve all.
That's good.
So that's good. It's just like different colors of the same palette. So, you know, you have the artist palette and there's different colors, and each color is kind of helping out a certain thing that it feels called to. And what I feel I'm called to is just raising consciousness. That's my cause.
Yes.
Right? So like awakening the hearts and souls of others, helping them remember who they truly are, why they're truly here. That is, to me, is what my cause is. But it took me like recognizing that I do not have to be helping people on the streets of Calcutta, Mother Teresa style, because that's not why I'm here. That's not my color of the palette. My color of the palette is to be helping raise consciousness and like all this stuff, but still honoring that there are people who are going to feel called to be a green or a purple or a pink or a blue, you know, or turquoise, whatever the shade of that palette is, and that there's honor in that.
It's a massive color wheel.
It's a massive color wheel, and everyone plays, you know, falls in, you know, hopefully each person sees which color of that color wheel speaks to them and resonates for them and bring them the greatest joy, for it is in that joy that the love amplifies and gets out. So when people feel bad for someone, that's not actually doing anything good. When you feel bad for somebody, that's not helping raise the world. It's pointing out and saying there's something broken in you, there's something wrong with you, and I see that, and now I'm bringing awareness to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But it's like, what if instead it's like you see this person, you're like, wow, they're on this journey, I'm sending them love, like they have all the resources, all the tools they need, and they can always reach out to the divine creator. They can always reach out to him, and the people that hear that call will come.
You made that point earlier, that looking at everyone in whatever state they are in their journey is beautiful in its own sense, and that's totally okay to... I have a follow-up question, quick, is just, how do you live with the understanding that every single color on the color wheel has equal impact towards light work?
How do I what?
How do you understand that every color on the color wheel has equal impact towards light work when it can?
Because the dark is all colors, right? Black is all colors. So even in that blackness, it's still a combination of all the lights, all the colors, everything contributes and makes it black. So
isn't there a certain, so the people that are closer to Marco in this analogy that you so beautifully seated within us, the ones that are hearing Marco and that are closer to Marco and that have been with Marco longer, are they also not adding more light, and therefore we can say are making more impact, versus just saying equalizing out everyone's?
So Jesus talks about that he'll go find that one sheep of the flock that's lost. Even though there's the 99 that are there and are paying attention, he'll still go and seek out the one. So to me, in that same way, if you're able to change one person's life, isn't that the greatest light possible? You know, and is that more or less important than lighting up 1 billion people? You know, like there's there's doing that work and that goodness of bringing that out from people. What I like, one of the things that I got while I was in Panama City was, especially for people as light workers, this was really helpful for me to get that. When people get triggered and their shit is coming up, and then I feel it, and then I'm reacting because I'm like, whoa, like where is this thing coming from? Like, you know, and I'm knocked off balance. But it was like, what if instead, if you understood that that person's soul recognized you as a light worker and is crying out for you to help release that which is in them that does not need to be in there, that no longer serves them. So that when you see them coming up in their shadows, in their triggers, in their anger and resentment, to be able to still hold love and forgiveness for them, because that is what their soul is crying out for. Please love me. Please accept that this is part of me, so that they can, you know, transmute that, you know, that they can let that go. That's one of the newest things I'm playing with. So that helped me out a lot. For me, I feel as I move forward, that when people's shit is coming up, I'm like, oh, that's not because of me. They're actually asking me to help them like let that go. Does that make sense? Yeah. So rather than me being like this instigator or something that's like creating some lighter fluid to like have them like show up and they're like rah, stuff that is actually like their soul is like, please help me get this out of my body. And it's like, okay, how do you handle something like that when you see someone's fear and resistance and resentment? It's like it's the absence of love. That's why that's there. So good. How can I be loving to them even in that state, and know that that's what their soul is actually asking for, and then whatever they want to do with that, you know, that's their thing. You're also being discerning though about where to allocate your limited amount of time and energy. Right. And with that discernment, you are indicating though that some of your love that you're sharing and light that you're sharing is higher impact than other, because otherwise you would be doing any of the light or love work, but you're choosing not to, as am I, as is Alfredo. Well, it just doesn't resonate for us, right? It doesn't, like, what has the highest resonance? That's a good way to put it. What has the highest resonance for you individually? Yeah, okay. What aligns with you highest? What brings you the most amount of joy? So, okay. So I would say that. But, you know, to your point, there are a lot of people I do not want to work with. Like that woman that I was mentioning, that she kept being in her trauma state. I'm like, I don't want to be in this. Like, this is your thing, and there's someone for that. Yeah, there's someone for that to help. That's not that's not the kind of collaborators I want to work with. Yeah, the co-spiriters. Collaborators. Alfredo, what do you think about all of this?
I think a lot what came to mind is, you know, thinking about how a lot of people are nowadays and how they can get so, you know, fixated on their everyday responsibilities and kind of lose focus of, you know, what their essences or essentially are. And so what comes to mind a lot is how can you what kind of space do you need to create, or what kind of activities can you provide in which that would foster that ability, that recognition to recognize within themselves what they are, and in relation to their everyday reality.
Mm-hmm.
And in this, I can touch upon what you mentioned earlier about the duality of, you know, good and bad,
Mm-hmm.
black, white, black and darkness and light.
Mm-hmm.
And it's to me that I can see that as an entry point of making people feel more comfortable with their own darkness, and allowing them to recognize it, accept it, and then see it as a tool, and then utilizing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You said something there that I thought was really important. Besides that last part, which was really gold, I love that part. Maybe they can be packaged together. Good, okay. What if the experiences that are then designed for people that are in their everyday sort of routines are then not only amplifying of their love in their heart, but also having them better understand their darkness?
Yeah.
And what would these experiences be is the next question. And I was thinking about that when I was laying down in my vibes for a bit. And I was just thinking about how lame a lot of our experiences are.
Like every day.
Like how lame you know that one place on 6th Street next to our studio that has the late night food available that we've dined at now, where we sat at like 3 nights ago or whatever, 4 nights ago.
The proper?
Oh no, the proper's fantastic. The one that is a shithole in comparison to the proper.
Okay.
Remember the one where we had that slice of pizza at?
Oh yeah. No,
okay, so my point is that the experience design of walking into a 2 a.m. sort of nasty ass it's just bad. It's a bad experience design. Whereas I was envisioning what it would be like to walk in and have like this cellist playing, and then like somebody grabs you by the hand and twirls you around and you dance for a bit, and then there's like this waterfall and animals that you can pet, and then you get served like a little tiny dish of food, and that
That sounds amazing. That was an experience.
Like that is what I'm talking about.
Sensory.
Yeah, we're lacking in not only that experience of maybe a restaurant like that or a dining experience like that, but just in how would an experience like that maximize one's love? And would that in that design that we just made, would that maximize someone's love? Would it also identify their darkness and help them understand that?
I don't know if it would help them identify their darkness, but it would definitely maximize their love.
Yeah, I think so too.
But that's what you described to me seemed like whoever to have something like that set up would have to be designed by someone with the intention to create a journey for someone.
Yes.
That's into that establishment.
Yes.
And that made me think, like, if that was the intent of a lot of the people running businesses, and if they were given the resources where they could flourish in that way, then we would all be just creating journeys for each other.
Oh, that'd be so amazing. Like connection. It's like into connection,
Sure.
right? It's like connecting with the cellist, connecting with the twirler, connecting with the animal, connecting with the waterfall, connecting with the food. It's like this connection thing of like coming back to what really matters, you know, in that immersion of disconnection that we all talk about so much, you know, like getting back into the touch of it, the connection. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Okay, what would an experience that we would design that would help people understand their darkness look like?
That's hard.
I know. It's, well, I don't know. I have an idea.
An idea. Let's hear it.
That if you were talking, there's some exercise that Shaman was talking about that the men do. He used to run men's retreats, so it was pretty cool. I think honestly it's mirroring. So when someone says like, I hate you, it's like, I hate you. Why did you say that? Why did you say that? How dare you? How dare you? Like, you know, just like mirroring. Like,
That's That's a decent one.
Like saying
Okay.
exactly the words. And so then like
Yeah.
as it's coming up and more is coming up, you just keep reflecting, like what they're saying, mirroring it until they're like, you know, bringing it all out. Because I think
Oh, you think people would have a tendency to go towards darkness when they're being mirrored like that?
well they're going to get triggered, right? So
You think they get triggered?
yeah,
Oh.
so then it's like they're going into like
Sure.
So for me, what happens for me is I suppress. So women tend to, especially suppress their anger, as much as feminism has brought out like, but it's like, it's a leaked anger. Does that make sense? Like it's like leaking out. It's not clean.
Yeah.
It's not a clean anger.
Sure.
So like a month ago, I got super triggered and I was like, oh, I could feel the anger coming up. And I was like, all right, I'm going to fill up a pot of water. I'm going to submerge my head in it, my face, and I'm going to scream into the water.
That's pretty good.
So this is something that a Rolfer suggested that I do.
That's pretty good, yeah.
So you can still move the energy. The energy is still moving, but it's like not like just being disruptive, in my way. Although I think maybe it would be good for me to just scream my head off as a woman, just allow my voice to be heard, But like I was screaming into the water and I was like angry, and then underneath it was rage, and then rage started coming up, like all this trapped, suppressed stuff that I had. I was just screaming.
Damn.
And then I went up to the shaman, and he's like this big 60-year-old Oklahoma man, and I was like, Steve, I want to arm wrestle you. And he's like, I haven't arm wrestled in 30 years. I'm like, I got this. I just have this energy. I need an outlet,
Into an arm wrestling match against you.
Yeah. And so I would just like push, and I was like, ah! And I was like just putting all of it in. And then like, when the next wave came up, I would push it. Next wave, push it. I think I did it 3 times. But then underneath the anger and underneath the rage, underneath all of that was my divine masculine that I had really tapped under. And so then when that came up, then I was like, whoosh. And I was like powerful. And I was like, fuck yeah, I want everything back that belongs to me. I want all of the energy that you guys have had taken or I gave you. I want it back. I want all of it back. And I just did this whole like fucking reclamation of my power, and it was amazing just to get it all back, take it all back. So there's something in that about being willing to face your fears and all that stuff. And
Tony Robbins does a little bit of that too at his Unleash the Power Within events. He'll have people go through what it feels like to stay in stasis for like 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years of stasis. And then he just has, after you really tap into how nasty of a feeling that feels for you, then you just shatter through it, and you really go through this process of just shattering through it. And I like that. I think that you listed the mirroring can trigger. I think so. I think another part of the mirroring that could trigger people into darkness is just the fact that the person that they're sitting with is, in this case, not socially intelligent, because you expect someone to be empathetic and asking you questions, and they're just sitting there basically mocking you.
repeating words to you. Yeah, exactly. There's another technique that I've been learning in my coaching program that I'm in, and it's about tapping into your felt sense. So
what if we had these little darkness experience designs, like you just walked in and someone would immediately start mocking you, and it would smell like rancid in there, because I'm serious,
like really facing your fears, really facing your darkness. Yeah, keep going.
Well, the whole rancid thing, that people have now done psychological studies on people in areas that smell rancid tend to feel more conservative about their feelings at that moment. So that's just maybe that could be interesting to sort of stack up these senses of a little bit of darkness, a little bit of rancid smell, a little bit of annoying social repetition with the
like
person
people
that's
laughing
mimicking
too
them.
loud next to
that's
you,
a good one.
and like talking like super loud, and you're just like
things dropping and falling, like silverware falling.
Yeah.
And then you just have to shatter
this
through
cacophony
that.
of like,
that can be so interesting. I would totally pay 20, 40, 60, 80 bucks for that shit. Because that'd be so fascinating to explore what that would be like. Like, how would that unleash me? How would that trigger me?
So you saw the movie The Game, right? with Michael Douglas in it?
I believe so. It's been a while.
Oh my God. Where
Okay.
he's like, he's just like led on this whole journey, and like his, he's like frantic. He thinks, it just like, totally costs him. Like it really, really pushes him to the edge, and then he ends up deciding to commit suicide. He takes a leap off of a ledge to land on this thing, but it was like all planned. Like they had planned it all out. They knew how to get him psychologically to the point of doing that, of recreating his father's death, of committing suicide, and he did that to be, kind of like reborn kind of thing.
That's pretty intense. So
intense.
That would be like if before Alfredo walked in the door, we had already crafted the exact path of inputs that would enter his being as he walked in through to have a certain outcome at the end that we knew he would get to. Mm-hmm. That's a step beyond my pay grade.
But it's fascinating about the idea of just confronting, right? It's like really confronting your fears. So for me, that was when I did a sweat lodge. So I did a temazcal, and that was in a San Pedro ceremony. So I drank the San Pedro. We burned down this huge bonfire down to like dinosaur egg coals, and then we went into a sweat lodge. Have you guys done that before?
I've been to
saunas. I like to be in saunas for like an hour and a half.
Wow. So like for me, I don't like I get in there for like 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, peace out. Like I can't breathe. Not being able to breathe is a huge fear of mine, like mortal fear. Mm-hmm. So the sweat lodge is like kind of like a smaller igloo, and like you crawl into it. And so there was like 13 of us in there, and I get in and I was like, oh fuck, this is when I die. Like this is when I die. That I'm the only gringa with a bunch of Ecuadorians. No one knows where I am. Like I could disappear and no one will know. Like fucked. Like I'm fucked. Like I'm in this sweat lodge and I'm gonna die. And so I got in, and then they're bringing in the coals, and it's just getting hotter and hotter and hotter.
They're bringing in the coals, not that little electric coal.
No, they like
awesome.
they use like a rake thing, and like they like shoot it. It's really interesting, like the cave, like the opening, and then there's like this brick layout. It reminded me of kind of like a shaft. Like it felt like the womb, the shaft, like all this stuff.
We need some of these sweat lodges in the city.
Yeah.
Like an actual coal sweat lodge. That'd be fantastic.
So they were like scraping them in until it was just like unbearably, it was so hot, and I was like, fuck. And then they throw the water on, and then they throw dust of San Pedro, the medicine in it. So then the medicine's in the steam, like as you're breathing it in.
That's pretty cool.
And he's like, spiro profundo, breathe deep. And I was like, like on the ground, like as close to the ground as I could, because it was just so hot and intense. And
damn.
And
they're all up, like standing, trying to get the maximum heat.
Everyone was sweating their asses off. And then they finally reached a point where it's like, I had like my hand, like my arms like underneath the tent, like just trying to hold on to cold grass. So, like,
outside, right? Just outside,
and it's not like being there for 5 minutes. We were in there for hours, and we did at least 2 rounds of like, he kept bringing in new coals, and then like more San Pedro dust, and I'm just like, fuck. And he's like, breathe deep, you guys. And they would
keep you in there
for hours, 4 hours. And then
I'm sure that was very cleansing.
The whole point, basically you're rebirthing. You're going through rebirth. But there came a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore, and I like dove out, and I was like, I made it. I survived. I lived. It was like starting to get light out, and I was like, oh my God, I made it through the day. And then the shaman's son tossed a bucket of water on me and told me to get back in.
Oh, that's great. That's a great story.
Then
that's a great story.
I was like, all right, I slithered out a snake, but I'm going to step out a queen this time. And so like, I went in, I'm like, I fucking choose to live. I choose to fucking live. I choose to fucking live. And I was like, I'm going to do this.
Damn.
That's a lot of what the Robins is like too. That's good.
Yeah, it pushed me. I had to like transcend that, totally transcend it. And I understood it was a choice. I could choose, because I had this kind of thought in my head. I'm like, oh, when God takes me, he takes me, or when it's my time to go, it's my time to go. And it's like, no, you choose when you die. You choose when you die.
That's pretty intense.
You choose when you live, and you can choose when to die. What about when you choose to live?
What about when you get overcome by a tumor that presses against your amygdala, and it makes you commit suicide and kill people that you love? Is that really your choice at that point?
Well, I think you would have to take into account everything that led to getting that,
That tumor.
Yeah.
So I had this.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Fair.
You could just throw yourself in that one point in time and be like, what now?
Well, but I do aim to press, because I don't know exactly how accurate that is. That's a beautiful statement that you get to choose when you die, but
you want to
challenge it in whatever ways possible. So what if I'm born with a defect that I can't breathe properly and I die after just a couple days? Did I choose that?
Or your soul did? In my truth, in my understanding, your soul chose that. Everybody's souls chose before they came here the life they were going to live. Whether they were going to be a stillborn, or they were going to live to be 300, you know, like they chose it. They got all the characters together, your soul family. Everyone knows, like, okay, this is the role I'm going to choose this life. Okay, cool. You're going to help me with this lesson? Yeah. And, like, everything is done out of love. Even though on earth it can be abuse, you know, whatever it was, it's like they all agree to that part.
Okay, unpack the soul family more. What happens outside of the realm that we live in, where I'm birthed from a woman into this world, and then what happened prior to that? What is the soul that you speak of that chose to enter my body, and what is the soul family that decided all these experiences that I was going to have, that was going to meld?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different books that talk about this. So this is just like a amalgamation of different things I've learned over the years. But my understanding is that in between our lives there are these worlds that we can live in, that we can exist in. Living on Earth is a very, very challenging planet. It's why there's a lot of souls who are like ready to go to the next level. They'll come to Earth because what happens here on Earth is just so dramatic for them. There are many, many worlds where they can live in existence as like being on a beach all day forever, you know, like that can be their life. So there are times when souls have such traumatic experiences on Earth that they'll go to other realms and spend a couple lives as a dolphin or whatever, just to like kind of rejuvenate, resource, renourish, heal from what's happened on Earth. Earth is really challenging, but for those are like for the true warriors, like coming and like experience it. Because the transcendence of what's possible from a soul level. You know, we think about we're trying to reach higher consciousness on this level, but our souls are even trying to do that to reach back into the infinite. So that's my understanding of it. So then we have these soul families that we're a part of, and I've changed soul families. Like, you know, as you go in your evolution, you might switch out. But the soul families are just this group of people. I've been told it's about like 150 can be in your soul family, maybe. And
that's the Dunbar number. That's hilarious that you said that. The Dunbar number is the approximate number of people that you can keep inside of your social sphere as a heart pumping meat vehicle, a human.
Yeah.
With your brain, with a 3-pound brain, with 100 billion connections, neurons and connections, or even more connections. But anyway, that's crazy that you chose that number, because that is the Dunbar number. That's such a coincidence. What the fuck? I wonder where that
So
comes
the
from.
150 people, maybe they are your soul family, you know, and it's, you know, because you'll meet people and be like, God, I feel like I really know that person. Like, God, I feel so deeply connected. Like, God, I feel like they're like my brother, but I've just met them. Like, how is that possible? It's like there's that soul family recognition thing, you know, happening. And then there's people who are partners in that. There's people who are relatives within that construct. There's people who are just friends. There's people who are enemies, you know, like you can be like, God, why can't I like get rid of this person in my life? Like, you know, the chances are maybe they're part of your soul family, and maybe there's a contract that you haven't completed yet. So there's the soul family, and then there's also contracts that we have with others to help them with a lesson for them to get, or for them to give us a lesson for us to understand. And when the contract's complete, then we're able to move on.
Were these contracts determined prior to entering the realm?
Yeah. Imagine that you got to come up with the coolest game where you're like...
I do this all the time. The show's called Simulation because I like to tweak all of these variables and see how worlds evolve.
Yeah.
And
So
designing these virtual worlds.
So you know the book series Choose Your Own Adventures, right?
Mm-hmm.
Growing up. So those were like my favorite. But so what I would do is I would go to the back and I'd read the ending I wanted. And then I would reverse engineer it to
cool.
have the story that I wanted. So, but what's... and I think I think a lot of us as human species, we do that. We want to understand the outcome. Like, this is the desired outcome I want. So how can I reverse engineer it to get to this outcome that I desire? But the thing is what I'm learning is that when I can allow the divine to take the wheel, I'm in the car, but I'm letting them take over. It's like so much more magical, so much more amazing, so much more incredible than anything that I could construct of my own human mind.
What takes the wheel?
The divine, the universe, whatever you choose to believe in.
And what does that feel like versus being, I guess, against that feeling of letting go?
So it's being in the flow, right?
Okay.
So
it feels like flow.
Yeah. So have you guys read like either The Surrender Experiment or Letting Go by Michael Singer? I think that's his name. It's an amazing book. You would actually really probably resonate with it. He incorporates meditation and stuff, but then he also built this humongous software company. It was worth $1 billion, but he still meditated for like 4 hours every day in the morning. Like,
wow.
Like really committed.
That's very impressive.
Like he would come up with these commitments and he stayed through them, but then other things would come
high
in.
conscientiousness. Good for him. It's impressive.
So, you know how it's like you want a certain outcome and like things are just like stuck. It's like, fuck, like you just hit this wall and hit this wall and hit this wall and hit this wall. And it's like, I don't understand, like, why is this not working?
When all those walls are there for your growth?
Well, all those walls could be, or you're not in flow. So you're fighting against the current. You're trying to create a certain outcome that isn't in the natural flow of your soul and what is a divine plan for you. So, but when you get in the flow, you notice how things just move so easily, and like all of a sudden people come in and like, oh wow, I just talked about this last week and you're the person that can answer that for me. That's amazing. Or like, it's just like these opportunities come up and like suddenly we're sitting on a lawn in San Francisco in the heart of everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, how is that possible? Because we were all in flow. And yes, we all agreed before we came here that, hey, there's going to be this moment in time where the three of us are going to get together and we're going to be sitting on this thing and we're going to be doing this thing together and it's going to be really, really amazing. We already,
So we channeled that even before we met.
We agreed to do it.
Before we even met.
Correct.
In what?
In the in-between, yeah.
In the in-between?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Damn. Trying to make this in-between world relatable for people.
So here's the thing. This is one of my favorite things that I channeled, and it was that there is no failing. So there's people on this earth that are like, what if I die and I haven't finished my mission yet? What if I die and I haven't completed what I'm here to do? It's not possible.
Yeah.
It is absolutely
That's pretty cool.
impossible. And the fact for people to feel like that they could be a failure and fail is merely a reflection of their ego. Like the divine creator who creates everything has contingency plans all over the place so that there is no way that you will not achieve the goal and mission of why you're here. Impossible. You will not fail. So there's like that.
God, this is so hard to package all together. Okay, so there is an earth that matters, and on this earth that matters, there are the souls that we have that are experimenting here on earth in this place that matters, and we decided on what we were going to be doing on earth because it's a harder place to play and figure things out, and so we decided that in the in-between.
Yeah.
And then no matter what happens, the 7.5 billion people, if I die when I'm 2 days old because of a birth defect, or if I die when I'm 27, or if I die when I'm 80, or whatever period in between of however much I will have achieved, if I'm just someone addicted to heroin, or if I'm someone that is impacting 1 billion people, that is all what is meant to happen.
It's all part of the plan.
And then the question to that is that sounds very deterministic. So we determine these things in the in-between. And then we entered. So wouldn't it all be determined then on Earth?
So we live in a world of free will and free choice, right? So there is a divine plan, and there's free will and free choice. So the
Dan, you're trying to get your pie and your whipped cream. You're trying to get both.
No, but hold on. Like, here's the thing.
Get your pie and eat it. Whatever they say.
Have your pie and eat it too. So this is how it works, though.
But why would you get your pie and not eat it? Which is
with the meat cake. Yeah. So what my understanding, this is for me, this is my truth, okay? This is my understanding, is that we're going to do whatever we're meant to do here. It's going to happen. It might not be, like, you may not have been drawn to me or Alfredo. You guys might have been like, oh, she's a cool chick. But there might have been your friend that works with Michael Pollan, the one with the glasses, who I did see he was very...
Mike Margulies.
Yeah, he was really drawn to me. I know he wanted to talk to me, and it just didn't happen. But, like, let's say I had talked to him instead, and then we were able to have a conversation, and like, it still would have happened.
Yeah.
So there's still free will and free choice, and we still have to be in agreement. And you know what, too?
There is still free will and free choice, but wait, back up. How would that...
But hold on.
Yeah,
so,
sure,
like, let's say that you and I are meant to meet, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, you know what?
The path at how it happens might be different.
Yeah, but let's just say you're like, you know what? I'm not really feeling this chick. I don't really want to spend time with her.
But then down the line, something might have happened because our souls agreed in the between that.
But then we have supporting characters, so then someone will step in.
Like that, Mike would have stepped in.
Mike would have stepped in, and we still would have gone on this journey.
And been like, oh, you have to meet Jess, and I'll be like, oh yeah, we met a month ago.
Or maybe he would have stepped in to take the role that you were supposed to have, because you chose, free will state. I know I agreed to this on this other side, but now that I'm here, I'm not really into it. So I'm going to say no. But someone else will come in to, fulfill that component.
That's pretty intense. So in the in between, you can say that you're going to have... So you can't map everything out in the
No, but there's so many contingency plans.
So then even if you choose to exert some free will and not follow the sequence that you were sort of agreed in between, that something else would swoop in and fulfill that so that the sequence would have. Yeah, but then isn't everything then... So sure, there is that little bit of free will and a little bit of determinism, but isn't then everything in the long term on this planet that matters, isn't it determined then in the long term? That we'll figure out this dualism and we'll get to a singularity, we'll get to this collective consciousness.
If people choose
unity
to.
Consciousness.
If they choose to wake up, they might not choose to. You've seen enough people where you're like, hello, like, there's something so much bigger, and they're like, I don't know, I'm going to die and nothing's going to happen. I'm just going to be put into the ground. I have no soul. It doesn't exist. And so there was this
Okay, so you're saying that it's still malleable enough to where the unity consciousness might fail.
Absolutely.
Singularity might fail.
Because we're in a dualistic planet. So there is always going to be that option of it not working out. Now, the Divine Creator, there's this book called The Ascension Papers, and this guy was channeling...
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, Zigdad. He was channeling it, and he was saying how people... basically, this is a huge science experiment. But like all experiments, they have to come to an end. Every game has to have an end, and this is coming to the end. The Divine Creator is like, okay, this was really cool, but we want everyone to be, happy, moving on. Like, let's raise some consciousness. So I believe that's why we're waking up. I believe that's why there's spiritual beings here. I believe that's why people are like aware that there's spiritual beings here. Like, there's like it's like, okay, we got to move this energy. Because this dualistic, lower vibration of third dimension isn't going to get us to where we need to be. Our Earth is meant to be at a fifth dimension, so that means we have to raise the awareness, raise the consciousness, raise the vibration. That's why the solar flares have been coming in. They've been super, super powerful. These solar flares that have been happening is because the sun is sending us its rays to help lift up everything. So Earth is already vibrating higher, but people aren't catching up. So then it's like, we got to speed things up. Everyone needs to be caught up on this Earth plane as it's moving up. That's some of the stuff I'm getting.
and it still has the possibility of unity, consciousness, singularity failing in the dualistic world, which I find to be very interesting. I'm happy it still has the potential to fail.
It does. Our Earth is one of the most, I mean, I don't want to say the most, I can't speak for a divine creator, but it's one of the most important planets in the entire existence of all that is.
So but what troubles me about that is that although that seems to feel good that Earth matters versus the nihilistic idea that Earth doesn't matter, that there seem to be other sort of rocks orbiting stars that have had life evolve on them that also matters, but that matters maybe less or more.
We're free will. We're free will.
Different
We're free
purpose.
will. We are the planet that has free will on here.
Wait, so the planets orbiting other stars don't have free will?
From my understanding, Earth has free will. We have the option. We have the choice. We're not connected to the divine. Other species and beings are. They understand it. They can. Some of them are darker, and they can choose to be like, no, thanks.
You mean
Okay.
like birds and dolphins on this planet, and trees connected to the divine, like the sun and the
No,
soil
I mean
and-
like other planets.
Oh,
like beings on other planets.
Oh, they are connected to...
To the divine, and they know
divine,
it. They
they
know
know
that
it.
they're connected. They're part of the unity consciousness. They understand that, and then there's just different ways of interpreting it. And then there's some that deny it, or whatever it is. But here we forget. We forget that we're connected to the divine. So like we're seeking, we're searching, we're feeling. This.
Why
this
is
thing.
it that we forget, but that on other planets they don't forget when their souls go from the in-between state into that planet?
Because this is Earth.
It's-
That's the significance of this. That's why the ascension and what you can grow and accomplish on this Earth is so important.
Because you forget.
Because you've forgotten.
Forget about the
and so
divinity.
you're going. You forget unity consciousness. You forget you're being part of one of all that is. You forget that divine love, and so then you're like, fuck. Like just feeling like the heartache and the grief and like all this stuff. We forget that we're part of something so much greater. That's my understanding. So, what would you like to say?
It's interesting if that's the case. If you choose to come here to forget, and then intentionally, I just think of like,
It's a condition. Try it on that it's a condition to be here.
yeah, like
You can come
it's-
to this earth with the condition that you will forget. You're going to forget who you are, where you're from, what your purpose is. But you get to come here and play the game, and everyone's going to try to help awaken you and remind you of who you are
Mhm.
in this game. Can you figure it out? Can you get back to who you are?
That's the
good.
game. Remember who you were.
Yeah.
It just makes me think that the end result then allows you to be something greater than who you were when you went into it.
100%. Yeah.
Mhm.
And talking about this made me think of something I read in Hermetics, in which you discussed that as a being here, this is put together through, from, as he put it, was like, the divine source, and then all the planets involved in allowing Earth to exist, they all put something into this. And so being here on this Earth, you literally have all these components from all these majestic sources, and you are all of that in this. And so it's like, to me, that just kind of helped put it into another perspective of how grand we are and not recognizing of it. I was like, because in all those other states, as majestic as they are, they're only that in that one specific state, whereas we can be in all of them, step in and out, or some way be all of it all at once, and in that case then be something more than all of that. And so it's just fascinating.
We have access to everything. We are unlimited. We are creators. We can create anything we want. And that's just something that I was talking about to Ellen. It's like you have an opportunity to create any kind of life you want, any kind of reality. You can choose to live in a reality of limitation, or you can choose to live in any kind of reality. I choose to live in a reality full of magic and possibilities and joy, because why not? You know? That's going to make me, you know, insane, then thank God. I would rather feel that, you know, than feel like the dreariness and the despair and the melancholy, because I've lived that shit, and guess what? It's not fulfilling.
No.
And it doesn't bring me joy. It doesn't help me bring joy to others. But when I'm choosing to live in a state of magic and possibility and joy, doesn't that ignite it in others? Weren't you guys drawn to me? If I had been melancholic, would you have said, like,
Probably
hey,
not.
let's spend some time together?
Probably not.
You know?
No, bro,
And
we
I
don't
would-
have time for that.
You know? And I've been like, yeah, I drink a lot of San Pedro. And you'd be like, fuck that shit. I don't want that. I don't want what she's got. But you saw what I had, and you're like, I want what she has.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was at the wedding, there were so many people who came up to me. They're like, I want what you have. I'm like,
Gotta work for it.
We were talking. Maybe we should spend a little bit of time talking about, like, what Alfredo and I were talking about just how we feel from the medicine.
yeah.
Oh.
Just
Go for it.
because the last bit that we spent on talking about this higher level conversation was just ridiculously fascinating. It's so cool. Yeah, Alfredo and I were talking, and we're talking about how subtle San Pedro is. It's just super duper subtle. I guess if you could describe it in one word, it would be subtle.
It's so it's like ice melting at a very slow rate.
Yeah.
At a very slow rate.
Yeah. Like at 1 degree Celsius. That's funny.
But it's nice. It's because it puts you in the state where I just feel, I can just tell I'm way more receptive and susceptible to everything around me, and this sensitivity is like really, it's just fascinating. Just with a little bit of sensitivity, the influence and the impact things have on you. And especially like, you know, if you're not, you know, stuck in a melancholy mood, then you would definitely be, you know, receiving like what you talked about, what you were just saying earlier, all these wonderful things. Those just hit much harder and just leave a better impact. And I'm more, yeah, it's just fascinating.
I like how you talked about sensitivity, because the times that I've used psychedelics, when you came over here, Jess, and you said that you discover what's hidden, you see what is hidden, and that is a reoccurring theme. I told you that's a reoccurring theme from my psychedelic use, is that I see what's hidden. And so and I think that has to do with sensitivity. It has to do with subtlety, that when you lay down on the grass, you might not notice how the clouds passing by overhead are actually in different planes, and how the ones that are closest to you are moving at a certain speed in a certain direction, and the ones just above them are moving at a different speed in a different direction.
Yeah.
And that tiny subtlety gives you so much more appreciation for Earth and for life, for the water cycle, for
Ecosystem.
Ecosystem, yeah.
So subtle yet profound.
Yeah, subtle yet profound, and it's such a short sort of it's only a short, I guess it's a short little kick. There's never a kick. It's that ice melting, but it
melts good.
It melts good. It melts good, but that's that little kick that I'm talking about. That melting over time is a little kick, but it feels so small. Well, this is only first time doing it, but like, if this was actually only 4 grams, and what would it be like to do 14 grams? And like, what would that feel like? How would that do? And there is a little bit of like stomach queasiness that I still feel right now, and that I felt that when I did LSD, almost every single time I've done LSD. But 5-MeO-DMT is fucking strapping yourself to a rocket and just
get ready.
It's like if you could find an exact opposite of San Pedro, it would be 5-MeO-DMT. They are exact opposites. Because even LSD and psilocybin sit somewhere in the middle, or depends on your dosages, of course.